Hello and welcome to Scary Town, the Goosebumps and Fear Street review show. I'm your host, Nightmare Nemo, and this week we're going to review the classic Goosebumps story, The Girl Who Cried Monster. And there's the back. So tagline is, she's got the monster of all problems. Ooh. And then the back says, she's telling the truth, but no one believes her. So, as you can tell by the title of this book, is definitely borrowing a lot from the classic story of The Boy Who Cried Wolf, where, if you're not familiar, was a story, it's kind of like a fable, where a boy keeps saying that there's a wolf around his, at this small town and this farm. There's actually a real danger of wolves attacking the farm animals and stuff. And he keeps on, it's like, oh, there's wolves there, and nobody believes him because he keeps on, lying about it. And then when the actual wolf is there and he's in danger, nobody believes him. And I think this story ends with him, getting killed by the wolf, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong about that. But this is pretty much the same setup. So, our main character is Lucy Dark. Little brother Randy is. Are all these stories? I swear, like in the 80s, all little annoying brothers were just called Randy. Anyways, so it starts out where she's always trying to scare her little brother by telling him stories about oh, there's a monster there. And I think the best one she told was the very first one where they're on the front lawn and just kind of bored out of their minds. And Lucy, she's the only thing she can think of to do. She's so bored. Is I'm just gonna scare my little brother. and so she tells him the story about toe biter. I think that's called a toe biter. But so there's this monster. Don't know how big it is because nobody's actually ever seen it. And it's able to camouflage itself like a chameleon, so it can sneak up on little kids, and it sneaked up on the neighborhood kids, the two little girls, and it bit off their toes. It was whoa, that's really dark. And so she does that, and then she has a friend Aaron, who she also tells as another lie about seeing a monster in a tree, and scares them. And then she goes up, climbs a tree, and then drops down this old robin's nest. And he doesn't expect it, and so he gets scared when it falls on his head. He's like, oh no! So already she's always doing this, and the parents are already fed up with it. Doesn't want her scaring her little brother and that kind of stuff. And so that kind of sets up that, nobody's going to believe her when she actually sees a real monster. And she sees a real monster because she's part of this reading program called Reading Rangers. It's reading time. Da, 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 da. Anyways, so it's basically this reading program. I think this is during summertime when they're not in school. It's to get kids to read. So every week a kid has to read a classic story. They have Anne of Green Gables, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and the first one she's supposed to read is Huckleberry Finn, but she never actually read it. She just read the summary on the back of the book. So she's really lazy about it. So this reading program's obviously not working on her. So, and the librarian is this middle-aged man. He's balding, and he has glasses, and he's stocky, and he has this thing where his hands are very moist, and whenever he shakes somebody's hand, it's oozing with sweat. This all happens during a dark and stormy night, because of course it does. So she rode on her rollerblades to because she had to read Huckleberry Finn, and of course she didn't. But she lies about it, and then it quickly skips on to like the next paragraph. It's like, oh, she's already heading out. So it's like the librarian totally bought it so easily, and so she's taken off back home, and then she's almost home, but then realizes she left her roller skates, which is strange because she rode on her roller skates there and is going back and it's already home, and she didn't realize like she wasn't using the rollerblades. I don't know. So she goes back to the library, and everyone's already gone, and it's already like closing time. She goes in and she can't help it, but she's very curious. She likes spying on people, and she even says so. It self-narrates like, oh, I like spying on people. It gives me a thrill. Like, ooh. So she spies on Mr. Mortimer, who's the librarian, and she sees him like has like this jar with a top on it with flies in it, and he has some pet turtles, and it looks like he's gonna feed the turtles. And he's like, see nothing wrong here, and then he unscrews the top, and then he just reaches his hand down and grabs a bunch of the flies and just starts shoveling it into his mouth like he has the munchies. And then she sees that there's also this transformation where these eye sockets pop out like that, and his little eyes like that, like an alien, and his I think his head like balloons up, and his mouth like is bigger, like this big black hole is gaping, and she's all like freaking out like, ah, and so she's like, of course she's telling everyone. It's just like tells Randy, tells Aaron, tells her parents. Like, of course nobody believes her. Why would they? And so that's pretty much the premise, and she's just trying to prove that Mr. Mortimer is an alien, or maybe alien, or it's a monster, and so that's pretty much it. I believe like the story borrows so much from The Boy Who Cries Wolf that it needed something else. It needed this punch, and so there is a twist at the very end that this book, like it needs this twist, because I already knew the twist because I remember it particularly from the TV show episode. So like there's no punch and there's no gut punch at the end for me. There's a lot of funny things though that happen in the book. It's funny because they have the whole reading program, and then there's classic books and stuff, and how the book is obviously borrowing from The Boy Who Cried Wolf. It's a classic story in itself. So it's interesting that there's this parallel between those. It's done in a kind of a clever way, and there's the toe biter story is pretty gruesome. I mean, like Mortimer's like he starts out eating flies, and he eats turtles, and then he eats moths, and he eats fish. So I mean, other than the way he looks, I mean, he's not really doing anybody any harm. You know, he just has very different kind of appetite for food, you know, more exotic. Because, I mean, real people eat stuff like that, like, all the time in different countries and stuff, and or if they have, you know, that kind of strange taste for the exotic. So, I mean, he's not hurting anybody. He's just, like, he's just kind of scary in a way. And it's kind of hard to believe that he would pose any real threat to Lucy, you know, other than the fact that he's trying to keep a secret, I guess. But there's a lot of funny stuff too, where the second time she's trying to, because for some reason like everyone didn't believe her, and then she's like, well, maybe I'm crazy, or maybe it was a trick of the light, so I need to go back and catch him in the act again just to make sure. And so she does so, and then the door is locked, and she's like running and to the door, and then she accidentally knocks over the card table in the library. I don't know if card tables, or if libraries still have those little cards shelves where you pull it out, and they have like that's this whole numbering system. to the books, and she knocks over all the cards, and then the Mortimer stops chasing after her and then scrambles and just like starts grumbling like her, and he's just and then he's like, he may be a monster, but he's still a librarian, and librarians really hate it when you mess up with the card table. It's really dumb. So I would say, I mean, this is yet again another middle of the road Goosebumps story. It's not one that a lot of people really remember. Maybe more so for the twist and the TV episode, because you can actually see him change into a monster and it looks cooler that way, visually, instead of just reading about it. So it could be just that, and nothing particularly special about the story in itself. And yeah, I mean, that's it. It's a classic Goosebumps story, but probably one you don't really remember other than the title and the twist. And the cover. Oh yeah, the cover. I forgot. That's another funny thing. Sometimes I notice this is the cover does not accurately portray what is described in the book, and in this, I mean, it describes Mortimer perfectly. He looks like that in the book, but Lucy does not look like that. She's not this skinny blonde girl. She actually has black hair, is very pale, has black eyes, and she's a little bit chubby. So this cover is a lie in that point. Maybe they felt like, I mean, this is kind of messed up, but maybe in a marketing way, it's like kids wouldn't want to read a book about a chubby, pale-looking kid or something like that. So, I mean, that's kind of messed up, but it's just reality. Anyways, so that's what about the Girl Who Cried Monster. It's another average Goosebumps book, but, I mean, it's worth it. If you don't know the twist, it's definitely worth reading. It leads up to that, and so you'll feel it's quite suspenseful in that way. But alright, so that's what I thought about The Girl Who Cried Monster. Let me know what you guys think. If you've read it, if you've seen the TV episode, is the twist worth it? Is there more to this than I saw? Because I think it's pretty average all around. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week with a Goosebumps Horrorland review. Alright.